The AUKUS submarine pact could be in jeopardy as the Pentagon orders a review into the $360 billion deal. We're live back to Trudy McIntosh because, Trudy, you've just got a statement from the Defence Minister. So what does he have to say?
Yeah, and quite a lengthy one at that, Kenny. Finally, a response from the Australian side after the Pentagon confirmed that it is reviewing this large AUKUS defence pact that would see Australia acquire a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines. I'll read you a part of what the Defence Minister, Richard Marles, has said in a statement today. He says, quote, "We are committed to AUKUS and we look forward to working with the US on the review." He reveals that the United States advised Australia and the United Kingdom of this review taking place. Mr Miles says, quote, "It is natural that the administration would want to examine this major undertaking, including progress and delivery, just as the UK government recently concluded its review. All three countries are committed to ensuring that AUKUS meets national and trilateral objectives." Now, we've got a bit of a hint from this statement as to how the government's going to try and persuade the US. Richard Marles saying that, importantly, AUKUS grows both the US and Australian defence industry, as well as generating thousands of new manufacturing jobs. The statement goes on to point out that parts of the AUKUS deal have already gone through the US Congress, and that happened with bipartisan support. So the hope from the Australian side here is that this review will happen, that the Trump administration will be persuaded that continuing on with AUKUS is in fact in the American national interest as well. It's my understanding that AUKUS was raised in the two phone calls, both times that Prime Minister Albanese had with President Trump. There's a belief in the Albanese government, Kenny, that the Americans do maintain support for AUKUS. But obviously things are up in the air now. This review has seemingly come out of nowhere and it's being conducted by that Under-Secretary for Defence, as we've been reporting this morning, who has previously expressed scepticism about whether AUKUS is the right approach.
Trudy, thanks for bringing us that breaking news. Let's get more analysis now. Joining me live is Defence Strategy and Capability Senior Analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, Dr Malcolm Davis. Malcolm, it's good to see you. So we just had that statement from the Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles. Do you agree with that this is just a natural occurring thing when you get a new administration, that they would want to conduct a review? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think the Deputy Prime Minister is correct here. I mean, we shouldn't lose our heads here and assume that AUKUS is dead. It's not, far from it. I think that it is quite natural for the Trump administration to want to take a look at it and see if they can make it work more effectively. I know that the US is also quite concerned about shortfall in submarine production capacity, not only for AUKUS, but also for the US Navy's own requirements. So Elbridge Colby is an excellent analyst and thinker, and he has expressed some scepticism in the past about AUKUS, but I think he's on board with the principles of AUKUS and the benefits of it. So it's really about fine-tuning the agreement to make sure that it delivers effectively on time and on budget.
So you don't think that this review is tied at all to Australia resisting a lift to our defence spending beyond 2.4% of GDP as requested by the United States?
Actually, I think it is. So it can be sort of a positive aspect in terms of making sure the AUKUS agreement works. But also I do think that with Prime Minister Albanese going to Canada for the G7 discussions and meeting with President Trump, he will come under real pressure from the Trump administration to lift defence spending. And I think Pete Hegseth at the Shangri-La dialogue made that crystal clear when he said that the US expects Australia to increase defence spending to 3.5% GDP as soon as possible. I think that once again, Prime Minister Albanese will be confronted with that message. And I think that he does need to do more to increase defence spending. And ASPI's cost of defence report made that crystal clear. Virtually every other strategic commentator in Australia is saying the same thing. So really, all it now requires is for the government to actually listen and actually take some concrete steps to increase defence spending in a meaningful way and within a short period of time. You can't be talking about possibly increasing defence spending in 10 years. Too little, too late. There needs to be a move by the Albanese government to increase defence spending to a floor of between 3 and 3.5% of GDP as soon as possible.
Just on another topic, yesterday the US condemned Australia and other countries like the UK in moving to sanction 2 Israeli cabinet ministers. The Netanyahu government says it is convening early next week to consider and determine its official response to the actions. How do you expect Israel to respond?
Oh, look, obviously they won't appreciate it, and I think that that's understandable. I'm not sure how effective these moves by the Australian government are going to be in terms of bringing about peace in the region. If anything, they probably assist Hamas more than they assist the peace process, because they take they take pressure off Hamas and put it on Israel. I think these two Israeli politicians, probably have views that I would strongly disagree with, but I think the goal here should be ensuring an effective and long-lasting peace process that leads to a settlement. Probably a two-state solution that does not include Hamas in any way, shape or form. And I think that should be the goal, rather than necessarily attacking two individual Israeli politicians whose views on things we probably all disagree with.
Dr. Malcolm Davis, thanks for joining us on short notice this morning. Always good to chat. Speak to you soon.